mental health professional, I have a lot of conversations with people about things that are causing them stress and anxiety, and certainly I'm not immune to those things either. So in this video, I wanted to give you some tips to help declutter your mind and help bring you more peace and inner calm. So tip number one is to journal. And I know this isn't for everybody, but personally I find it really helpful for me. For many years, I used to struggle to journal consistently, and for whatever reason, early in 2023, I decided to buy myself a journal again. I wanted to try and make it a daily habit, and ever since then I have done it every day, and I find it so helpful to get my thoughts out of my mind and onto paper. And that's what I say to my clients as well, if they want to give journaling a try, or even not set up a journaling practice. If you've got things running around in your mind and it's really hard to get a sense of them, get hold of them, pull all the different strands out, write it down, because when you've got it down in black and white and you can see it, it's much clearer. You can get much more handle on it. You can see exactly what's going on in your mind, and then you're in a better position to do something about it. Tip number two is to go out in nature. Again, this is one of my favorite ways of bringing peace into my mind. I love going out walking, being out amongst the trees and hearing the birds sing. And that's the other aspect of being out in nature. So when I'm walking, often I am caught up in my thoughts. I'm thinking about things, and I do find that walking whilst I'm thinking does help me to resolve things or get clearer on things. But also I think when you're out in nature, it's important to stop and take a few moments just to tune into your senses and listen to and see what's going on around you. Often when I'm caught up in my thoughts, I don't realise that the birds are singing and the wind is rustling the leaves in the trees. And when I stop and take a few seconds to just listen to all that, it's just beautiful. It helps to settle my mind, it helps to ground me, helps to calm me. And I don't think there's many other things that help to do that. A bit of a side note to going out in nature, get by the sea. I absolutely love being by the sea. There's something very humbling about looking out at that huge body of water and just little me looking out into the world. I feel that the sea breeze just helps to blow the cobwebs out of my mind. So definitely, if it's not something that you've done much, I definitely recommend it. It's just something else. Tip number three is to speak to people that you trust. So if you have friends, family members, or you feel comfortable speaking to your spouse, then talk to them about how you're feeling. For me, a lot of the time, when I speak to somebody, I don't want them to actually do anything about the thing that I'm worried about. I just want them to listen. And as a mental health professional, I have to say that's the majority, I think, of what people would like from me. I often get comments from clients about how helpful they found it to have someone who has listened to them and given them space to do that. So if we have somebody in our life like that who is willing to listen, and if we do want support, we can ask them for that, I think that can make a big difference. And of course, if you do want to see a therapist, if you're able to invest in seeing a therapist, then that can be helpful as well, especially if perhaps you don't have people in your life that you feel comfortable to talk to. Let me know down in the comments if there are things that you do that help to declutter and calm your mind. Tip number four is to lower your expectations of yourself. Over the years, I worked really hard to get my qualifications, and I sacrificed a lot of my spare time to achieve what I did in my studies. And whilst I don't regret any of that, as I've gotten older, I feel like I'm slowing down. I don't want to be in this striving and pushing myself so hard all the time. I'm kind of lowering my expectations of myself in terms of what I want out of life. And perhaps lowering my expectations, perhaps that's not the right phrase, it's perhaps a readjustment of expectations or a readjustment of my priorities. The things that were important to me a few years ago and for me to work on and have in my life are not so important now. But what is more important for me is making room for more of the things that matter, not getting so caught up in consumerism and material things, but really savouring those experiences, savouring relationships with others and those connections, and enjoying life from that perspective. Tip number five is don't sit on your worries, deal with them. This is something I made the mistake of for many years. If I was worried about something, I would spend a lot of my time ruminating about it, but not doing anything about it. And the thing is, often we can reduce our worrying or stop our worrying altogether if we address the thing that we're worried about. And sometimes some of the worries we have might not be actual worries. They might be things that we're worried might happen, but they haven't actually happened yet. So often it's helpful to get clear about if the worry is a real worry or whether it's something that hypothetically we're thinking about. But if it is a real worry, what can we do about that? And there's a really helpful worksheet that I give to clients sometimes sometimes. It's called the worry tree. I'll put a link to it down in the description, and it's a really useful, just practical flow chart that you can use to get clear about whether the worry is hypothetical, whether it is a real problem, and then the steps you can take to take action on that problem. Tip number 6 is to keep your physical space clutter free. Now I know it takes effort to declutter and we all have busy lives, but what I found is that if I tidy up as I go along, if I keep things clutter free, as the clutter comes in, I'm less likely to feel stressed by it. Being in a cluttered environment, I think, really does affect me psychologically. I start to feel hemmed in, I feel irritated, but if I keep on top of the clutter, when I get into a habit of doing that, it means that I'm not having to do a big declutter at the end of the week. There's nothing to get rid of. So if we have things like bills or statements come in, what we try and do is when they come in, we think about, okay, do we need to keep that for a time? So we do have a box that we keep important documents in, or can we shred that thing? Can we get rid of it? And if at the moment decluttering sounds like a bit of an onerous task, one that you're not really looking forward to, then click on the video that's on the screen now for some tips on how to declutter fast. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.